Mark and I thought it would be fun to talk about who we feel like are the five most iconic players in our hearts in all of the National Football League all time. If
Totally
you think
opinion
about
based. There's
totally
no
opinion,
real explanation as
no
to how do you
stats,
define
no
iconic. Yeah.
play, no news cycles.
Statistics, rings, all of that is out the window. You're just like, who's iconic? Like, who do we remember for right or wrong reasons? And we want to do a little draft of our top five each, and then let you guys decide of my five versus John's five. Who has the better top five?
Mark, after you, who's your number one?
Really, I get the first overall pick.
Yep.
Um, my this is close to my heart. First jersey I ever owned. Something special about that 21 in the powder blue.
Damn
I'm
it.
going LT Lindanian Tomlinson
Okay.
with the signature. Get that little signature like ball flip, the celebration, the tinted visor, how he played the game. He was one of those first do it all backs, and I literally wore 21 as a kid to be like him. He was like the coolest thing ever. I drafted him in every fantasy draft I ever could. He was
How
my guy.
did so were you specifically asking for Tomlinson a Tomlinson jersey from your
Yes,
parents
for
as like a
Christmas, it was the first jersey I ever owned. It was
that's
I used to
awesome.
wear it in the basement and play tackle football with my brothers and throw them around and throw them into metal poles and stuff. And I was always wearing that jersey.
To keep with the running back vibe, this guy just had a statue erected at Ford Field. My number one, the guy that I've seen more highlight reels of than any other player in the NFL that has ever played in the NFL, it's got to be Barry Sanders, right?
It's a solid
Obviously
pick.
Barry was after Mark and I's time as a Lions player, but that's how you know just how legendary it is. Is so many guys from Michigan, whatever, will talk about Barry Sanders as if they watched him growing up playing because of just how many highlights they have seen of this man play. I mean, he truly was an icon. He has seen so much fame to this day, still one of the most respected guys around the league. So yeah, gotta be number one for me.
John, I'll be honest with you. One, you had to use the word erected to start your pick. That's funny. Two, I still to this day like
Isn't
when
that
I
what you
dodge
do to a
people.
statue?
I mean, it's just like you could have said put up, built,
Sure,
whatever.
whatever.
Still this day in the grocery store, in like if I'm walking through crowded halls, airport, like if I like dodge someone, I'll still be like, oh, Barry Sanders. Like I'll still like in my head, and I'll even say it sometimes. Like he's just iconic for making people miss, and his body moved in ways that you shouldn't be able to move. That's a good pick. Do you want to go back to back picks because I went first?
Sure, we'll go back to
It's
back.
a little snake draft.
My number two, and it's because I've spent more time listening to this human talk than probably any other person on the face of this planet,
Don't do it.
unfortunately. It's Pat McAfee, man. And so I'm just thinking when I'm 70 or 80 years old, I'm going to be thinking about the fact that I've spent, 2 to 3 days a week for the past 3+ years of my life listening to Pat McAfee talk. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, frankly. Especially, I mean, I was kind of around before he's really become the household name that he is now. And I think he's going to continue to be a household name for decades to come.
He changed the way I look at kickers and punters. I'll tell you that much. He did that position
For the
differently
brand.
than anyone ever. Yeah, I mean he is. I will give you he is iconic. Crazy you put a kicker punter specialist as the
Hey,
in your
man,
top five iconic, but
special
I
teams
agree.
deserve
It's
their
crazy
love.
because I kind of agree. I'm gonna stay in the specialist range. Now, different kind of specialist returner, iconic, best to ever do it at this position. He just was different than anyone else that ever did it. No one's ever going to touch it. He every time he touched the ball, it was like, what's he going to do? Give me Devin Hester. Chicago Bears Devin Hester, best kick returner, best punt returner. He made plays that you should never be able to make. He made grown men look silly on a weekly basis, and he just was a spark to the NFL.
Excuse me because I'm ignorant. What was his non-specialist position?
Technically receiver. I mean, he did have some like touchdown catches and stuff, but he was like almost exclusively return guy. But
Just
he
a
was
returner.
dude. There was a point. I think his rookie year he had like 6 or 7 kick returns / punt returns in like an 8 week
House.
span. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous, dude.
Well, and like I kind of miss the era of I feel like people really taking pride and specializing in returns because they're just not the same as they used to be.
Not the
right?
same. What he did will never be touched. Also, partially because he was that special, but also the NFL has ruined the return game because I mean they're actually very much encouraging teams not to. Almost every time you see a guy take the ball out on a kick return, they get worse field position than if they just would have fair caught it or let it hit the.
I mean that Chargers punt return was the first punt that I've seen housed that I feel like in at least a few weeks, right? Like you don't see them that often anymore for punts and kicks especially, right?
But they're so electrifying,
But they're so sweet, they're crazy because it's just like it's one of those things where you expect a play to go a certain way because 99% of punts and kickoffs are just turned into somebody being down with probably horrible field position or whatever. And then you just slowly watch like, oh, is he going to do it? Oh, he made that guy miss. He made that guy miss. Oh, is he going to do it? Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Okay. And like, it's crazy. It's a fun build up on a play.
It is.
Sure. So, okay. Next we got number 3 for me. And, obviously showing my Detroit bias here, but the reason why I have to have this dude as high as I do is not only does he have an iconic nickname, but the thing that I remember most out of any time I've ever been to Ford Field was his Bengals catch. I was right in front of that end zone.
I was right next to you.
He sticks his hand up and catches it with 3 guys around him. I believe Mark, attended that game with me. It was one of the craziest things that I have ever seen in my entire life, not just in sports, literally ever. It's Megatron, right? It's Calvin Johnson.
Megatron, man.
Arguably the greatest receiver of all time. I mean, Randy Moss is in that conversation. There's a few other guys, but just like if you're from Detroit, like that's your guy. That was the one like shining light of hope for, a ton of very shitty Lions teams over the years because he just did things that other people could not do. Period. He was the most incredible athlete I've ever seen with my own eyes.
Haven't seen many people have 2 guys line up and press a receiver on a red zone play like the Saints did. In that picture is one of the craziest NFL pictures. I thought it was photoshopped first time I saw that. That's an honorable pick. 2 Detroiters in your top 3. That's
again, it's iconic, right? It's all subjective. These guys are very near and dear to my heart, and why I love this sport so much. So I feel like they got to be on the list.
All right, with my number 3 pick, I'm torn between a few guys. I don't think John will pick any of the guys that I have left, though, so I feel safe. I'm going to change it up. We've had some more show guys, but we need some tough guys. Like when you think football, you think tough, you think badass. I'm going Dick Butkus. He's my 3rd. RIP. I'm going Dick Butkus. You think badass football. You think guys that just played it the right way. Played it back when you could do whatever you wanted to quarterbacks. You could throw them by their neck. You could twist people's face masks. You could do whatever you wanted. He was one of the scariest. People feared playing against that guy every week. Like, actually were scared.
Yeah, name is iconic, obviously.
The look. I mean, he just the most football-looking guy there is. Like when you think, when you say linebacker, you just, without a doubt, you're thinking you're imagining.
It's like his pads. Oh, that was a horrible crack. It's like his pads were anatomically, like surgically connected to his body.
Dude, I love Dick Butkus, man.
So. If you're done with your spiel, it's funny enough. I also have a bear for my number 4 guy.
What is going on here?
I know. Look at that synergy right now. My guy, though, he's known as the refrigerator, William Perry.
Oh, check it out on the back.
Yep. He's on the hoodie right there, top left, paying homage to it. And so I saw his ring at, I think it was the NFL Hall of Fame, like museum, right? And just to like conceptualize how large of a human he was. And it was like, it could have been a bracelet on like some smaller humans. And it was literally his championship ring. Probably just like, if I'm thinking like, who's like just the biggest, largest NFL player that I can imagine, first person I think of is William Perry. Dude lives rent-free in my head for just being the like iconic, like just line freaking 3 humans large person.
The iconic touchdowns he would get on the 1 yard line are just, you can't forget them. I mean, you give the ball, he was the first, I feel like he was the first guy that, the fat man touchdowns everybody loves,
right?
But he made those a thing. Like he did it so well. No one could tackle the dude from 1 yard out. It was genius. It was genius.
Tush push who? He just was the tush push in one person.
We have 3 Chicago Bears on this list: Hester, Butkus, and the Fridge, and you have Barry and Megatron. That's a heavy.
If we're talking iconic here, like
the NFC North.
I was gonna say our upbringing is reflecting in this list for sure.
Yeah.
So
All right, that's your fourth pick, the fridge. I'm gonna go, man. All right, I'm gonna do this because you went with the fridge. I'm gonna go with the bus. Pittsburgh Steelers, Jerome Bettis. Speaking of big dudes that could run the football, this guy is a beast, man. He's a beast. Started his career, he was big, but he got bigger and bigger as time went on. By the end of his career, when he won that last Super Bowl in Detroit against the Seahawks, like he was big. He was running dudes over. Nobody wanted to tackle him. He almost never went down on first contact. When you have a nickname like the Bus and you play in a black and gold and white uniform and you play for an iconic team like the Pittsburgh Steelers and it's all about being
That's so
tough
good.
and having the steel curtain defense, it only is right that you match on the offensive side of the ball a physical runner like him. And he is the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Famer, Jerome Bettis. Give me him at my fourth.
when did he retire? I mean, he's got
Right after that Super Bowl in
right after
whenever that was in Detroit, 07.
Yeah, it was 07 or 08, something like that. It was like somewhere around the same year that we went 0-16 as a team and we were hosting the Super Bowl. Actually, I met Barry Sanders at like they did like some kind of like event prior to hosting the Super Bowl. I can't even remember what it was, but my grandpa being a season ticket holder, they had like a whole signing and Barry was there signing footballs and shit. It was pretty cool. All right. This one I think I'm going to get roasted for. I think we both have pretty respectable lists up until this point. I think you're going to make fun of me for this.
This might sway the people's pick, John.
It could. It could. Number 5 for me, most iconic players. Again, I'm going to be thinking about this dude when I'm 70 or 80. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Dude.
And here's my reasoning.
You realize we're talking all time, right?
All time. Harvard grad. Played in the NFL for what? 15 years at a pretty high level and never played for the same team like multiple years in a row. Like was just a true journeyman. You need a quarterback in a pinch. Ryan Fitzpatrick is your guy. And he looks like a pirate. I mean, and I think
he looks like Carter Ferris, who we've had on the show a couple times.
Well, yeah. Carter needs to start growing out his beard a little bit. Right now, just with the mustache, Carter. I told Carter this to his face, so he won't be offended. With the mustache and how he looks in some of the pictures that he takes, he looks like he just watched somebody like get murdered or something like that. Like just like absolute shock on his face. It's hilarious. Like
slandering him on air.
I'm not, because I've said this to his face. So,
but now the whole world's hearing it,
and he agreed. He thought it was funny. Anyways, look, I think Fitzmagic. He has a long broadcasting career ahead of him, and I always really enjoyed watching him play. Especially the last few years, right? Getting closer to retirement. I mean, he did not care for his body, like at all. Like he was literally taking hits that no quarterback should be taking, especially somebody at his age. Like that Miami Dolphins season, like he was like suicide running the ball, like doing stuff that Josh Allen, regularly does, but he's 12 years older than him. So he's just always been really entertaining to me. Always been a Fitzpatrick guy. And so that's why he's number 5 on my list. And I knew that one was going to come out of left field.
That might hurt you in the votes. I'll tell you that.
That's all right.
I'm going to go with my last pick. Ended on a bang here. Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco, whatever you want to call him. Dude played the game with the most swag of anybody ever. The future Hall of Famer jacket, touchdown celebration, putting with the pylon, proposing to a cheerleader on the sidelines. He was the first original 7-Eleven, I'm always open. Hey, why you call me 85, right? Like, he is the guy. Like, trash talk king, great feet, great route running, crazy balance, the way he torqued his body in the air, had unbelievable playmaking ability as well. But the guy was just a character. The stories that you have of him, man, the stories, like he would call players like the night before and just like talk trash and just like get in their head. Like he was just a different breed. His McDonald's diet. I mean, still to this day,
I was gonna say the McDonald's diet, and too, like Ochocinco is one of my favorite people on social media. Like
he's hilarious, dude, and like he just lives this crazy life. I mean, he plays FIFA online, is like really, really good at video games. Like he just is like good at a bunch of different things. When he went and like raced Tyreek Hill and tried to play DB against some of the current receivers, like he's just a character, man. He's just a special individual, and he is in my top 5 most iconic NFL football players of all time. That's the list. You let us know what you think in the comments. I think I got John beat. We'll see what
I think
happens.
I think they're both respectable lists though.
They're definitely respectable. Definitely respectable.
I also a quick honorable mention. Troy Polamalu. I just
Okay.
like first guy I think like as a kid where I was like on a different team where I was like, who's that guy? Why is he like around all the time? Why do I see him everywhere? Because he just is an icon and played his position at a level that I think very few other safeties had played at. So that's where I'm at.
I got my honorable mention is Joe Namath, Broadway Joe. Um, just wooed the ladies, man, in the era, third Super Bowl, right? Won the Super Bowl with the Jets. He's just iconic. The picture of him laying out in his lawn chair with just media all around him, chest hair, like he was just what football was at the time. He was with the quarterback position. Again, swagger, ego, just the way he carried himself, iconic, man. Iconic. Joe Namath, Broadway Joe.
Yeah, I mean, and I do, miss those like he was what late 70s. I just 70s football vibes are just
Special, man.
unreal. They are. They're incredible. I
Good lists. Good lists.